we'll want certificates in place. But we're not going to, I mean, we want to get it eventually and have you guys get them, but it's not going to be critical for the first few races. In some cases, the certificates will also determine what the crew number is. We're not really worried about that. Okay, notices to competitors. Pretty much all the notices will be posted on Yacht Scoring website. So most of you are familiar with that. You'll find the NOR and the sailing instructions under that. Any other documents or amendments will also be posted on Yacht Scoring. Now 2.2 is probably the most important thing. So we are setting up a system to send out a text blast to everyone. And what I would like you to do is, in addition to having yourself on Yacht Scoring, I would encourage you to also put in your crew's information as well, contact information, and especially their phone numbers, because when we send that text message out, whether there's racing, no racing, or to be determined, if your crew is notified at the same time as you, the skipper, then you don't have to tell them. And I know there's a number of crew that will be coming over from New York City, or they have to drive an hour before they get to the marina and such. So the sooner everyone finds out whether there's racing and no racing, the better off everyone is. And so we try to schedule a time that works in that regard, but it's not so early in the day, like as the event of today, that the weather completely changed and then we regretted our decision. So I thought 4:30 to 4:40 was a good time to make that initial call to everyone. So again, please add your crew to the Yacht Scoring. You'll see when you go into the owner's corner section where you can add your crew information. And we will then take that and take their information and put it into our system for text notifications. When you receive the text about racing, no racing, it's going to be a kind of a do not reply. Don't start chatting about it or anything, because everybody's phone will go off when you start sending replies and chatting. So this is only a messaging way. If you have questions, we're going to have you email them to the info@Liberty Yacht Club account. If there are changes to the instructions, we will post them. Well, if there's changes to the schedule, rather, sorry, we'll post them by 4:45 on the day of racing. Again, that's about the weather situation. If there are changes to the sailing instructions, they will be posted on the website, the event on Yacht Scoring at 9 o'clock, by 9 o'clock in the morning, or it might be before, and then you will be notified that there was a change. Okay. This is a big question. I've highlighted all the channel 68s here. So we have a few options: channel 68, 72, 73. Mark Thorne, you have suggested channel 73. I'm sorry, 63, which is where the name of the boat came from, right?
That was
the other way around.
No, it was Hoyt and Steve's J105, which was the 63rd boat. We always use 63 as a joke, and the channel always worked out really well.
Right. So, but your observation was that channel 63 had very little chatter on it. Correct. Is anybody else familiar with channel 63 or using it at all? So the marina uses, I believe, channel 72 for between the incoming boats and the dockmaster and such. So we would hear the less chatter on a channel, the better for us. So would everyone be okay to try out channel 63? If so, I
don't know. Is channel 63 a channel that we can talk on? I don't know that.
I'm checking it out right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And 72, the reason we went with 72 in previous years was because Andy said basically at 6 o'clock their communication is off.
Really? Aren't they getting boats at night though?
They're not calling Dockmaster, they're calling on the phone because there is no Dockmaster on 72.
So I'm seeing now from the Coast Guard, on a Coast Guard site, port operations and commercial VTS available only in New Orleans. So really it's open because it's not New Orleans, but it's supposed to be port operations and commercial.
Yeah.
I could say whatever we use, as long as we don't use what we had last year with those knuckleheads harassing us the whole time.
Yeah.
Which was 72, I believe.
I thought it was 69 last year.
Yes, yeah, 69 was last year.
69.
Yeah, and
69.
it was two idiots. I don't know if they were tugboat captains or what. No offense, Mark. There.
North Cove
But,
always did
But like those
69.
guys, they were just relentlessly, talking trash.
Yeah, and
68,
North Cove
69.
always did 69, so it's better to not do 69.
Yeah, 68 and 69 tend to be fishing channels as well. Like fishermen will say, "Meet me on that channel." So
Over the next couple days, I'll keep an ear on 63 and see what I hear.
We should probably check with the Coast Guard anyways, just to make sure they're not surprised, because they will call out.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying I can pass this channel info list on. It's actually a Coast Guard page. So
Right.
And that's a regularly available channel. I mean, for everybody.
let's find out.
Yeah. One of the standard channels.
Because I have no idea. Just I thought it's a valid question.
It is one of the 23 or 24 standard channels.
So it's a 1 watt channel. Is 63A is what it comes up as. Nope, it's available on both high and low power. Okay.
All right, so let's do this. We're not going to decide right this second, but when you look at the SIs, when you get the final SIs, that'll be the first thing you should look for, is what channel we ended up deciding. It's going to be either 63, 68, or 72 is my guess. Okay, so signals made ashore. This is like more geared towards once COVID has passed us and such. Typically at a yacht club, for a regatta, they will hoist flags and such to announce if racing has been postponed or canceled, and such. So I don't know that we will be doing many signals made ashore. Not in the early part of the season, but I'm keeping it in the SIs for now. Okay, schedule events. We have our skippers meeting today, happening right now. As I mentioned before, the first 2 races will be not tune-up races and don't count towards overall scoring. And then we officially start the spring series, series 1, which will be 5 races long. And then series 2 and 3 will be 7 races long. The warning signal for the first start will be made at 6:10 in the evening. So then the starting signal will be 5 minutes later at 6:15. Again, my thinking is that in the first couple races, if there's just a few boats, there may be just 1 race. So as time develops and more boats start showing up, we will start to have more of those starts, and I'll get into the rolling start situation in a minute. If time permits, and this is probably more in the summer when we have more daylight, we may actually have more than 1 race in a night. The idea is if we missed a race or a week due to rain or storm or whatever, we will try to do a makeup race in the following week. So what we would do is maybe do 2 shorter races if time permits. But in either case, we're not going to send people out if it's already later than 8 o'clock. So we're going to try to gauge it so that we know everybody will be back at a reasonable hour. So race committee will probably let you know if they're considering a second race. So, which means that when you finish, hang around the starting area. Don't go sailing way off and then, then everybody's waiting for you to get back to the starting line. So we will probably say in the beginning of the first race, hey, we're going to think of a second race. When you finish, we'll probably remind you, hang around the starting area as we may have a second race. The classes I mentioned already, we have our class, we have 4 classes at the moment. And you can see those on the scratch sheet. And it looks like we're going to have a Spinnaker A, B, and non-Spinnaker division and the J29s. The Spinnaker A and Spinnaker B is based on kind of your speed of boat or your sort of rating in some cases. So we're trying to allow the faster boats with Spinnaker to be in their own class and the not as fast boats to be in the B class. If there might be situations where the 2 groups start together, okay, depending on who shows up that evening. But you will be scored separately. Okay, your scoring will stay within your class. So even though you Spinnaker B folks may be starting with the Spinnaker A's and doing the same course, you will get your own score. The racing area, I think we pretty much know what that looks like. Let me just pull up that for a second. Just bear with me one sec. All right, can everybody see the chart?
Yep.
Oops, rolled here. Okay, so the starting area is where it usually is, over by Morris Canal Can A, except that it'll be actually south of that. We were kind of testing it out last weekend. We're going to try to align it with this northern pier of the train station. And essentially, there's going to be 5 marks that you're going to have to remember. A is Morris Canal Can. B is over the north end of Governors. C is number 35. D is 33. And E is number 1. And that's it. That's all the marks we're ever going to use and show. So essentially, course E is the only one that truly takes you across Staten Island ferry path, though if you did go to D, but you're heading over to Governors, you may cross its path anyway. All roundings will be to port, so you don't have to think through, we've been in situations where courses were like, B to starboard, C to port, E to starboard, D to starboard, C to port, home. You're like, no one can remember that. People are trying to write it down. It's super confusing. So the racing will always, all roundings are always to port, and race committee will remember that as well. So so if it's a low wind day or there's strong current, you may just race committee may just send you out on a short course like C and back, or B and back, or CA finish, something like that. Or it may send you like C, B finish, and I'll show you what the course board looks like. But by after several races, you're going to have memorized what all these marks are. You'll be able to certainly put them into your chart plotter and such. And so feel free to laminate this sheet. It's never going to change through the season. One thing to note, just lost my train of thought here. So again, if it's going to be a 2-race night, we may send you like see and back twice, for the first, see and back for the first race, see and back and for the second race or something like that. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So the winds are going to vary, they can be all over the place. So generally we only really have one direction to go in, and that's south. So, so there may be times the wind is coming from the north or the northeast or the northwest, of which you may be starting with your spinnaker or not, but you may be going downwind on your first start. For the spring series, to make life easy for everyone, the race committee is going to basically set their line, going to try to keep it parallel with that north pier of the train station. So if the wind varies, one side may be heavily favored than the other. As the racing progresses and race committee is getting better at learning those angles, they can adjust a little bit to getting square to the wind. But if the wind is coming from the north, the race committee line, the starting line is not going to necessarily turn around and go the other way. At least not until the fall, when all of you are, have done all of these situations and are everybody's sort of ready to think on those terms. So for now, as we start, we're just trying to keep things super simple. They may not be the perfect starting line in terms of square to the wind, but that's fine. We're just trying to get out there and just have a good evening and just have a lot of fun racing. So, and that's going to be kind of the theme with all of this. As the season progresses, we'll start to make it more challenging as things go on. All right, back to the SIs. So that was the racing area. The courses, all right, so we're going to have a course board. These are your classes along the top. Can everybody see the course board? Okay, yep. Okay, these are your classes along the top. So you're going to have the spin A, spin B, non-spin, and the J29s. And then these are your mark numbers along the left-hand column. And you can see we will post the marks that you are to round. So just match these up with that course sheet and you're good to go. So you'll see that in this example, 1 and 4, divisions 1 and 4 are actually doing the same course. And in this case, the thought was they may have the same start. Whereas divisions 2 and 3 have their own courses. So the course board will be on basically the shore side of the signal boat, or the non-starting area of the signal boat. So we ask that you sail by the race committee boat to check in, just sail by and say, persistence, checking in, no doubt, checking in. And then that's when you get to check your course. We are not going to post the course. We're not going to email it ahead of time. We're not going to radio it. And I'm going to talk about the radio chatter in a minute. You have to go by the signal boat, the race committee boat, to get your course. That's the only way you're going to find it. The marks, the starting and finishing mark, we will have an orange inflatable buoy, roughly, I think it was 200 feet, 250 feet away from the signal boat. All your marks will be government marks, as you saw on the course sheet. Okay, so the starting sequence will follow in accordance to racing rules 26. And we will start, the warning signal will be at 6:10, and then the first start will be at 6:15. That 6:15 signal will be the warning signal for the second start. Okay, so when the first boats go off at 6:15, the warning signal is going up for the second start, and at 6:20, those boats go off. That will be the warning signal for the next start, and at 6:25, the third start goes off. So unless there's some major screw up or mess up where we have to restart everything, that's how we intend to do it. If we restart the timing sequence, we will let you know by radio. But just assume that the once group start is your warning signal if you're going to be after that. Okay, there will be an orange flag on the race committee boat. That is actually the point on the starting line. It's not the front of the boat. It's not the back of the boat. It's the orange flag on the race committee boat. And that corresponds to the orange mark opposite. Keep in mind that the starting area actually extends, if you keep drawing the line past those marks, past the orange flag and past the orange mark, for another 100 yards, that constitutes the starting area. And what that means is if you are not in the sequence of the next group starting, stay out of the way. Just stay out of the way of the boats that are in their starting sequence. Okay. And that being out of the way means 100 yards past those endpoints of the starting line. So basically, as I said, you're going to come in, you're going to check in, you're going to check your course. I will strongly ask that you do not radio the race committee with questions. If you are late and you don't know what the course is, do not call the race committee. Or if you forgot your sailing instructions, do not call the race committee. The race committee is super focused on getting the fleet started, and they do not want to be dealing with questions because people were unprepared to come. And, so this is when this messes things up for everyone. There's the boat that comes in and, sorry, we didn't hear the starting sequence. Could you repeat that? Or we don't have our sailing instructions with us. Could you tell us what blah, blah, blah? Forget it. They're not going to answer you. They will give you courtesy announcements if there's something special for that evening or whatever. But they're probably not going to answer questions, and they certainly won't answer them when they are in starting sequence. Don't call race committee if you haven't checked in yet and you're on your way out. Just sail by, and if you're late, you're late. That'll be the situation. All right, if you are over the line early, the individual recall flag will go up. It's the X flag. It's white with a blue cross, and the race committee will call out either the boat name or your sail number. So if you started early, it'll be something like Persistence over early. Persistence will then, as soon as she can, turn around, get back over the starting line, and then restart, and then race committee will say Persistence all clear.
Hey, David.
Yeah,
Let me interject real quick.
yeah, go ahead.
That individual recall also is accompanied by one horn, right? So if you hear the
Yeah,
single
that's right.
blast for the
So if there
start,
was a boat or more than one boat that was over the line early, you will hear a long blast immediately after the starting horn.
I think it's a short.
Is it a short blast?
Short blast.
All
So that
right.
means you'd hear two blasts in a row.
You may
You'd
hear
the
two
start
blasts
blast,
in a row.
and then you'd hear the individual
Right.
recall blast.
So if you hear that second blast right after the start, listen to the radio immediately. And hear if your boat was called out. You'll be listening if you think you might be on, close to that line. So just pay attention to the radio, and turn around. You may be stuck between two boats on starboard, and you're just stuck. You're just going to have to somehow slow your boat, let them go by, and then turn around and head back. You only need to, unless things get really bad where boats keep doing this, you only need to go back to the starting line, get the entire boat over it before you turn around and go out. You don't need to go around the race committee boat or around the pin. Those situations are if this becomes a chronic issue. But I anticipate this might happen if we have one of those really strong ripping currents where a boat may just misgauge getting to the starting line a little too early.
So there was one question in the chat about the signal to tell people to get their watches ready. I think what we discussed about is before any of the warning signals, we would do a bunch of quick bursts blasts.
That's right.
To get everybody's attention, welcome you to the race. That's kind of your warning to start getting your watches ready, because the next horn will be the first warning flag.
Right, right. So we will do an attention blast, as Beth said, bop, 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 you know, and it'll be something like, welcome, Wednesday night racers. Welcome to the first edition of the series. In a few moments, we will start the first warning signal countdown, or first starting signal countdown, so on and so forth. So we will give you a heads up as to when that is going to happen. That way you can get ready on your timing devices. Okay, so if for some reason the winds started out really well, but then they just died and we have to shorten the course, we will either fly code flag S by the RC boat, the race committee boat. However, if you're all the way down river, you're never going to see that. So we would, I'll probably add another comment here that we will make a VHF radio announcement that the course has been shortened, and it'll probably be, you know, whatever mark you're at, and then just finish. The finishing line will be also the same line as the starting line, except that the race committee will switch that orange flag out with a blue flag. So it'll be between the blue flag and the orange inflatable mark. If you did a penalty, you fouled another boat, or you touched a mark, the penalty will be a two-turn penalty. I'm sorry, a one-turn penalty, unless the incident occurred within the zone in which the two-turn penalty will apply. Time limits for all races will be 2 hours for all classes.
Can I ask you to step back to the last
Yeah,
rule to explain for newer people and me?
yeah.
Like 2 turns in the zone versus not in the zone.
Yeah, so the zone is the circle that is around the rounding mark, okay? And the zone is defined by 3 boat lengths. And it's basically the length depends on the first boat entering that zone. So, and Beth, correct me if I'm wrong. By the way, Beth got a great score on her race committee management course, so I'm going to defer to her on some of this. So, if full circle and is the first boat into the zone and you're right behind full circle, it's 3 full circles that define that radius. Okay, so that's
150.
yeah, 150 feet or something like that.
Okay.
So David, does that mean we do 3 penalty turns if it's 3 full circles? Sorry, I couldn't help it.
However, if it's city sail and it's the Colgate 26, right? And they're the first ones to enter the zone, then it's 3 of their boats. All right. So you have to kind of gauge what that circle means. And if the foul occurs within that zone and you were wrong, you know you're wrong, you know, it was a port starboard, it was obvious, whatever, then you need to take your penalty turns when it's reasonably acceptable to do it. Don't feel if you're in a situation you can't do it right away because you got to get clear of everyone. But don't wait till you're almost finished to then do your penalty turns. You're supposed to do them as soon as reasonably possible.
David,
Yeah.
is the zone also only considered one of the rounding marks, or is that the start as well? In other words, last year there were a couple of incidents in or around the starting line. Would that?
So the starting rules, the rules that are around the starting area are a little different than the mark zone. So if Henrik was here, I'd have him explain that a little bit more clearly. But essentially, if the fouls occur in the starting area, those it's not so much a circle around that mark. There's not a radius around the signal boat or it's more on the course side of the line and the starting side of the line. Okay, protests and requests for redress. So we would prefer that no one files a protest or protests anyone else. We just don't want to go there. It takes a lot of time. It's just a bummer. We just rather go and party afterwards. However, if you feel the need that there's a situation that needs to be resolved, the Appendix T of the Racing Rules of Sailing offers this arbitration option. And so the way we were thinking about doing this was if a boat fouled you and you just at least want to acknowledge there's a protest, fly a protest flag, which is a red flag hanging off your boat. It must be conspicuous. Yell protest to the other boat, and then signal. You can signal to the race committee when you finish that you are protesting another boat. Okay, and you may be a boat may have fouled you, or you may be protesting a boat and they didn't hear you, or they're too far away, they can't hear you. So signaling the race committee boat, that's where that comes into play, where you're at the end of that race. Persistence is protesting Synergy, and then race committee will acknowledge that. And then from that point, we will set up an arbiter or an arbitration. And the thinking is maybe it's over a Zoom meeting. And basically, an arbiter would listen to both sides of the story. And the arbiter will say something to the effect, okay, well, no, this is a legitimate protest. This is, Synergy, you were in the wrong and persistence was right. So Synergy can decide, all right, well, yeah, okay, I get it. Now that I hear all this, we were in the wrong. And so we could opt to basically take a scoring penalty. And if you refer to Appendix T, you'll see like there's a 30% point scoring penalty. Or Synergy might say, no, they're wrong. We were right. And the arbiter might say, well, you might think you're right, but you're not going to win this case. I can tell you right now, you are not going to win this case. And so the arbiter could basically advise both groups as to what the potential outcome or the probable outcome will be should it go to a full protest hearing. So to be honest, I would like to only, if a situation arises, I don't want to go past the arbiter process. I think we can resolve whatever situation it is. If anything, it will be an educational experience, but I don't even want to go to the arbiter situation either. It's just kind of if it's more, it does take a lot of time from everyone, and but only under extreme circumstances would I advise that we, go that route. So if you think you may have done something wrong, do the 2 turns, absolve yourself, and then keep moving on. If you are adamant that you are in the right and the other boat still is protesting you, then we'll figure out what the next steps are. But basically the process that's set in place is through an arbiter process before a protest committee actually happens.
David, real quick.
Yeah.
If I was in the wrong and I need to do my penalty turn or turns, would I in any way announce that? What's the etiquette there? Or do you just do it and just hope that the race committee notices?
Yeah. So, okay. So, let's say you were in the wrong and a boat is protesting you. They're flying their red flag. You do your turns, and let's say Synergy finishes before you and calls into race committee. Synergy protesting Koinonia, and when you finish, you say, we have done our turns, so you tell race committee that you have made your turns, and then race committee will acknowledge that.
So that's at the completion of the race.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, you may want to avoid chatting with the other boat unless you're like side by side or it's really obvious you've made your turns. You could just let race committee know that you've done your penalty turns for the record.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful.
Okay. For scoring, we're going to use the low point system. So, the better you finish, the lower your points. Each class will be scored separately. In order to be eligible for the series or season, you must have started in at least 75% of all races completed in the 3 series. So what that means when I say started, there might be some races that you showed up, everybody started, but then the wind died and the race was abandoned. So even that, the fact that you showed up, I think will count. There's a difference to showing up and a race is abandoned versus not showing up at all. So it needs to be 75% to qualify for an award. There will be 1 throwout for every 5 races. So if for some reason you can't show up to a race, you can use that race as your throwout, or you had a really crappy race out there, you can throw that out. So whatever your lowest score is going to be, that's going to be once you completed 5 races, then your one of those races will be eliminated. A boat that did not start, did not finish, retired, or was disqualified shall be scored points for the finishing place +1. So if you didn't show up to the race that night, your score, but there's 5 boats in your class, that means you will get a 6 points for that race.
Hey, David.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you have there 1 more than the number of boats entered into the series. That can be different than the number that showed up.
That's
the
right. It's not the number. So
But there's 2 different things for did not start. There's you were in the area, but you did not start, whether it's that you never started the right way or you just didn't race, versus did not compete, which means you never even showed up. Right. So I
Right.
think did not compete should be number of 1 more than the number of boats entered in the series, but did not start, did not finish, or is disqualified, et cetera, should be 1 more than the number of boats that compete, that were there. That
So isn't it the same math?
it's not the same number. Like if you've got 7 boats in your class, but only 4 showed up that day, then the most you're going to get scored is 5 if you actually showed up. Whereas
Right.
if you didn't show up, you're getting scored 8, 7 + 1.
Right. So in this statement here, this is based on the boats that are registered.
Right. But I think you need a 16.7,
7.
so I think 16.6 should say the number of boats that showed up to the start area that for that race.
Right.
And 16.7 should be if you do not compete, which means you never even came out on the water that day, then you're getting 1 more than the number of boats in the series, i.e. registered.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. However, the one that I'm showing here is what the racing rules say. So the did not start says the number of boats entered into the series, not the number of boats that started.
Okay.
And we can make whatever we want as long as it's clear. But if we want the same outcome in either situation, I think if you did not come, then it's +1 to the boats that entered. If you
Right.
came, but you messed up, then it's +1 over the boats that started,
Which it does not allow for here.
which it does, correct, because this follows the racing rules of sailing.
Right.
So
I
I'll
just
make
think we're
that,
going to have big disparities in who shows up versus who signed up.
that's right, that's right.
And we want to account for that probably,
Right, okay, so I will make that adjustment. Thank you.
if everybody agrees. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, does that
That's-
cool logic?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Okay, security zone. Everybody knows about the security zones around Ellis Island and the statue. I believe they are still in effect. I haven't been on the water lately, but those are the white marks that are around those zones. If you go into the zone, I would say that could be a grounds for protest by another boat, or the race committee could also call you out on it.
David, I would just add that those zones are very poorly marked now. You can see them on GPS, but there's very few buoys, especially around the statue.
Right, yeah, they seem
No,
to be.
no, not
losing
anymore.
them.
They added them.
Oh, really?
Add
Oh, yeah.
more?
Yeah, they added them.
See what happens when you don't sail for 6 months?
Ah,
Yeah, the whole new harbor.
no, as of last weekend, there were 4 of them. Actually, one I've never saw around Ellis, like one brand new. And around the statue, all of them are there.
Okay, probably not an issue then. Good.
Okay, weather protocols, if there's lightning and thunderstorms, no racing, obviously. If you want to go out personally and sail, be my guest. If the gust speeds are greater than 25 knots, I'm going to say that it's going to be questionable whether we're racing or not. You know, if it's on the threshold there, it may be up to the skippers. If the race committee is not comfortable with going out there, you know, we got to think of their safety as well. Then you know, that'll be one of those announcements where TBD on the water. If we're finding there are really high winds, and they are getting, I don't know, the last few years, the winds are getting super strong these days, and isolated. Okay, we will be, every Wednesday night, race committee will be calling into the Coast Guard, notifying them that we are out racing. So everyone's cautioned to observe the navigation rules, yield right away to vessels restricting their ability. So obviously the Staten Island Ferry. I don't have it in here, I don't think, but you know, 5 blasts from the Staten Island Ferry could be grounds for disqualification. In fact, I think I had that in past sailing instructions. I might add that back again.
Now I know Mark is going to call up his captain buddies and just say, hey, just throw 5 blasts at whoever's following me.
Right. Chase them down. Okay, I don't think anything else. I'm going to add channel 63 to this list under radio communication. Keep an eye out for what that final number might be. And prizes, we'll do a first place prize awarded to the top boat for each class in each series. And then probably a first, second, and third at the end of the season. So the thinking is that at the end of each series, we'll do a party and we'll give out some awards to those first place boats for the series. Disclaimer, liability. Basically, you can't sue anybody, race committee, the yacht club. You acknowledge that it's a dangerous sport. You can get hurt, you can get killed, so on and so forth. You're acknowledging all of that. So, and then for COVID-19 protocols, I mean, you could do whatever you want on your boat. The marina does still have certain protocols in place that we need to follow along. Hopefully this will be something that's erased from the sailing instructions, you know, by next year. So a couple things about yacht scoring. So I would say, you know, we have a lot of people registered. That's great. But we have to finish it out. There's many of you that still have to pay the entry fee. And you also have to make sure your waiver forms are complete. So if we can make a goal to have that all done by Sunday evening, so that we don't have to start making phone calls come Monday, Tuesday. I'd rather you have all that finished prior to coming out on the course. If you're only going to do like the summer series or the fall series or something like that, you know, you could pay up now or just write a note, hey, I'm going to just do the summer or fall. Then that acknowledge we can wait for the payment on that. But if you really are going to do the spring series, let's try to get that all cleaned up by the end of the weekend. And as well as the waiver forms, you got to fill out the waiver form to finish it out. If you get your birth certificate, upload that as well. But we do want to keep working on getting those complete.
Dave, can you stop sharing, please?
Yes.
Also, another thing, I don't know if people noticed that the price for 2 series and the price for 3 series is basically the same.
Yeah. So each series is $150, but if you did 2, you're basically signed up for as many as 3 at that point. So, all right, so can open up.
You would like to tell race committee that you're not racing in one of the 3 series, so that way it won't show up as a score did not show up, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're registered, we will just put a did not compete under that boat. And obviously they're not worried about the prize for that series because they never came. So we would just keep everybody in the database as though they were signed up. But that's all logistics behind the scenes.
Hey, David, can we just talk about the start sequence real quick one more time?
Yes.
'Cause I think there was tons of confusion last year. I'm not even sure the signals were done correctly, or I don't know, but so the start sequence is it's 1 blast at the warning, which is 5 minutes out. It's 1 minute later, so the 4-minute mark, there's 1 blast when the prep flag goes up, the P flag. 3 minutes later, which is at the 4-minute mark, there's a long blast. That's when the prep flag comes down. And then 1 minute after that, which is the 5-minute mark, is the actual start, which is a short blast. And that's when your class flag comes down and the next class flag goes up. So I think there was confusion last year that when you heard that long blast, some people, sometimes us, thought it was the start. It's not. That's the 1 minute before the start, the long blast. So.
And just to point out, if for whatever reason that race committee does mess any of the blasts up, it's really based off of the flags. So that governs everything.
Yeah,
That's right.
visual.
And in the regular racing rules of sailing, that's
Right.
true as well. So that's your go-to.
Right. If you're really dialed into the timing, I mean, well, sometimes the flag is really the overriding element to all of that, because the blasts based on sound travel over the water, and if you're listening over your radio, there could actually be a fraction of a second or a full second delay on the sound warning versus the visual. So the visual always takes precedent over any sound or radio announcements. So you'll want to keep an eye on the flags.
Yeah, we're that precise.
Exactly. Right. Any other questions? So while you might be thinking of anything, so we had a race committee training session over the weekend, which was really cool and really good. We have actually 15 race committee members, several of which have taken the U.S. Sailing Management course, race management course, and have also taken the exam and have passed the exam, some with perfect or near perfect scores. So we have a really good group of race committee people. But you know, we're still going to be, you know, everybody's a little rusty this time of year anyway. So we're going to be, you know, working to set really good protocols. And what we're trying to do is have consistency from week to week to week so that things are predictable for everyone, which keeps things simple. The other thing too is I'm trying to make this our sort of protocols, racing protocols, very similar to other local yacht clubs. So if you were to race, for instance, down at Raritan for their Red Grant Regatta, or you went over to Atlantic Highlands, or even if you went up to New York Yacht Club Race Week, this will all seem very similar to the way those organizations and clubs run their races. So it's not, we're not doing things that are very different from everyone and making it confusing. We want everybody to learn, and see how the racing program works. So we don't want to sort of, lack of a better way to say it, dumb down how we do things. We want everybody to sort of elevate their experience and their learning skills on how this all works. So that's kind of the philosophy behind all this. So, all right, well, it's 8 o'clock. Here's another question. We'd probably be probably back at the docks by now, next week, I'd say. Kim,
Where's
do
the
we
party? Tell
yeah,
everyone
so-
where's the party.
Kim, have we thought more about that?
Yes, we
Kelly
have.
and Kelly?
So, and there's Kelly over there in the Hollywood Square. Okay, so the plan is, and it could be changed depending on weather, that we are going to be meeting at JDoc for the party, and we're gonna see if we can get burgers together, beers. The protocol basically for us is that we really aren't collecting enough money from the racing entry fees. That really is going mostly towards gas for the boat, for the race committee boat, and maintenance of other yacht scoring and other things like that. So we're going to be evolving, I guess is the best word, for how much and what we're going to be spending on each of these different Wednesday nights. Some of them are going to be dock party type, and as soon as we can, the light ship will be used as well for our trash talking get-togethers, where you can all meet up with your fellow racers and members as well of Liberty Yacht Club. And then there'll also be times when we're going to be meeting up at Surf City. So, or potentially some other location that we'll see if we can get together. The idea is that we're going to make sure that it's fun and we're mixing it up and we're doing different things. So this Wednesday, we're going to be hosting, so you don't have to worry about part of it, the burgers and beers. Going forward, for people who are not part of Liberty Yacht Club, but are racers and friends and all, we may ask for a $5 fee or something like that towards getting the food and beer together, or show up with a 6-pack. Consider this as something where you're coming to a party and you're going to make sure that you're participating as well. So that's going to be the format going forward for some of these.
Right. So to add,
And
sorry to add, so
Yeah.
to add to that, I mean, we're still putting the finances together and such. So we didn't know how many boats would be signing up. And once we understand what our expenses
Budget.
are in terms of the equipment, one of the things we want to look into is an iStart device, which is an automatic horn device, which then it takes humans out of the equation to make sure everything falls in line. That's one of the toys we would like to get, as well as the awards themselves. So after that, we can start to see what's going to be left over from the entry fees and such towards our post-race parties and such.
right. But depending on how much you eat and drink, it's very unlikely that covers every Wednesday night party.
Persistence alone may use up a lot of the budget.
I have a question.
But this coming Wednesday, definitely consider that done. Nitsan, can you talk a little bit about the communication on that? I think we want to get some kind of an RSVP, but it's informal. You show up, that's totally cool. But if we can get any kind of a head count beforehand, that'll help us for getting things together. Wednesday itself, when the race committee is out there, they'll announce for sure what the party is actually going to be. If that has changed for weather reasons, to be at something like a Surf City, even though that's not open yet. And you may get also through Yacht Scoring some kind of an email if for whatever reason there's no racing, but you can still get down to the marina to socially meet up with people. So we'd like this to be something where you carve out your Wednesdays and you expect to hang out with your fellow competitors.
Can you please
so-
share with us if there are any restrictions within the marina in terms of social distancing and mask wearing?
Yeah, so I think we're still figuring out what exactly that's going to be. So on this coming Wednesday, we'll announce that also for everybody. But I guess
Well,
you should expect to be able to wear masks on.
Yeah, assume
drinking.
assume mask wearing for sure.
When
Yeah.
drinking.
And social,
The
and
straw.
drinking through your
Straw.
mask, through your straw. So we'll do
actually
the
have
best
a-
we can on the docks.
And I
have a
just
question.
want the record to say Persistence has the best beer.
I can confirm.
What beer is it?
Oh, it's all from Vermont.
Imported
Right,
from another
right.
country.
Right.
Vermont.
I do actually have a question on how that goes. I mean, so with what Kim touched on it, Nitsan, I didn't quite understand the complete reply, but it is going to be important that we have sort of before Wednesday, if you're not going to be racing, if there's any way that we can have a list so that we know, and then that way we can change. We don't want to prepare a whole like I don't know, goulash fondue party, and then all of a sudden there's only one boat. You know,
I'm happy
So-
to set up. I'm happy to set up a sign up. It seems like the system is working easy, and people understand how to use it. So
Yeah,
I'm happy.
and
to
obviously
put it.
it could
If you
still
want,
be
we can do it
changed.
for every week, or we can do it just for this coming Wednesday. Whatever.
Let's start off, since it's still, boats are you working on trying to get ready and such. Maybe we'll figure out some format to figure out who actually is racing, number one, and who is interested in coming, to the docks afterwards to hang
Yeah,
out.
racing and then head count from your boat so that
Right.
we have an idea.
Right.
And Dave, when are you going to start coming out with some kind of a crew list or a roster or something for people? Because he asked the question before about who potentially would need crew, and indeed, I have a full crew, but there's no depth of field.
Right. Good question.
Dave, there should be on Yacht Scoring a section for people to sign up if they're
Yes, there
interested in
is.
crew, right?
There is actually, yeah. So I think what we need to do is, Kim, Nitsan, and Kelly, we could reach out to people we know that are around to crew and are willing to do that, or on a side, free agents, so to speak. And we'll get their names on a crew board through Yacht Scoring, which it has. And then Mark, if you need a crew member, that would be your first go-to place to find people that are willing to crew.
So I'm on Yacht Scoring right now, the app, not the full site.
Yeah.
And there's nothing there. So.
But we haven't put anything there yet. No.
So in other words,
It has the ability to do that, but we haven't
We haven't
populated
activated
yet.
it.
Right.
Right, and for races 1 and 2, if you'd like to just get in touch with me or Dave, we'll help you fill a boat.
Okay.
Get in touch with Kimberly. She will help you fill a boat. All right. Anybody else have any other questions?
Gary said.
Just specify whether they're drinking people on board or you actually want them to do work.
Yeah.
I was going to say as well that as the season progresses, we might even have a spectator boat or something else like that. So there might be
Right.
more options.
All right.
Gary, do you want to tell us what your idea is?
Yep.
Gary?
Unmute,
Gary,
Gary.
you're on mute. Gary?
All the way at the bottom left, Gary.
Oh, that-
Hey, there are two Garys. The one with the wine is the one that has the question.
Years back, we used to have where we rotated boats as far as the end of the night party. Why can't we just keep with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. if we can get on that kind of a concept. I think if any boat would like to host a party, reach out to me or Kelly.
Right.
And we'll put you down on whatever week that you want.
One of the, I mean, the light ship is going to be opening up soon. And it makes it really convenient because that's where all the stuff is. And so I'm thinking by June, actually, we're going to be able to go to use the light ship. So these are sort of just, I think throughout the year, we're going to have kind of a combination. Once in a while, we're at a boat or at a dock. Once in a while, we're at Surf City, and once in a while, we're at at the light ship. So, might be all three.
Works.
Yeah, but definitely, if any individual boat or even someone who isn't a skipper on a boat wants to get involved in like hosting a particular Wednesday or a party, reach out. Like we'll make that work. You guys can be very involved in making that happen.
And just so you know, if it's at Gary's boat, there will also be a yard sale going on as well. You can bring things for food if you want, swap.
Every Wednesday.
But
Every Wednesday there's a swap.
But same thing, what you're just almost mentioning is that as a port captain, I might be assigning people to bring things or do tasks. Because it is all of us that's going to be putting this on. So
yeah, sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
No, so if you have any interest in helping or anything else like that, and you want to be doing anything at the first couple times when it's really appreciated, definitely contact me too. Okay, it's always appreciated.
So,
Kim.
All right, so I want to wrap it up. So I think we're gonna keep an eye out or ear out or whatever over the next several days. Nissan set up a phone, a Google phone account for the club. And we're thinking that will be what's used to send out broadcast text messages. So what we might do is I use the term radio check to see if these systems we're trying out are working. So if you see anything that says radio check, please respond, whether it's an email or a text message or whatever. Just say, hear you loud and clear, something like that. That way it just tells us that these systems are working. And just a reminder, as I said before, if you can, add your crew to your yacht scoring account, owner's account, then we can pull that information off to fill out that database for all the emails and text messages that are going out.
I have a suggestion. Add to the SIs the phone number of where we're gonna send the text messages from.
Okay.
That way people will be able to save it and then they'll know this is the.
Yeah, when
update
you
number.
receive, you'll see when the phone number comes up, you won't recognize it. So when you do see it, you'll have to change its name to Liberty Yacht Club or Wednesday Night Racing. Something that when you see it, you'll know what it is in the future. So, okay. All right.
So Dave, I have just one more thing about this coming Wednesdays or the kickoff 2 weeks. So there are a bunch of boats that aren't yet in the water. There are a bunch of boats that aren't necessarily going to be competing in those first 2 weeks. Please, though, if you're around, come down to the regatta. We would love to still have you at the after party and anything like that. So, we want to just get this whole group together and going. So reach out and let us know.
All right. Any final comments?
It's so good to see everyone.
Yeah. It'll be even better in person on water.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to do everything it takes to make this a really good racing season and build this community and such. I think this will be a game changer on New York Harbor with everybody participating. And, we're going to make this as professional as we can and as fun for everybody as we can. So anyway, good luck. If you have any questions, just reach out, info@libertyyachtclub.org, and we'll get you the answers. Keep an eye out for the SIs, the final draft in the next couple of days. So we'll get them out before the weekend starts. So you have plenty of time to take a look at them closely. All right. On that note, all good?
Aye, aye.
Good.
Over
Good
and
job.
out.
Thank you.
We'll see you out there.
You.
Bye
All right.
now.
Care.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.